Hello and welcome back to another episode of Wednesday Workshop with the Mapton School District. Today we're going to be talking about culture of error. We'll start off with a quick video clip and kind of discuss how that relates to our topic.
We're here at the World Championship Texas Hold'em Poker. We're down to our final four now, and the stakes have never been higher. No player is giving anything away. Faces so still, they may as well be carved from stone.
All right, Jason, you've got this. And when you win, you can finally afford to buy that kidney you need.
They can't read you at all. You're a sphinx. You are smooth like the wind.
I have no idea how to play this game. I should have been out a long time ago, but I keep winning.
Breathe. Oh, I can't take the stress!
And starting with the flop, we've got the king and queen of spades and the ace of diamonds.
Nothing again? I'm sick of waiting for a good hand. Time to bluff my way to victory.
10,000.
Oh my! Well, Jason Gray comes out swinging. What can possibly be going through everyone's heads right now?
Sandwiches.
Nothing but calm calculation down there. Let's see what they do.
So that was an interesting clip, but it relates to what we're talking about because poker players have a really good ability to not show their emotions or what they're thinking, even though there may be some very strong reactions happening inside of their minds. And when we are developing a culture of error in our classrooms, we have to be really good at creating our own version of a poker face. And so we'll get more into that a little bit later, but let's look at the definition that Doug Liedemop has for creating a culture of error. He tells us that we need to create an environment where your students feel safe making and discussing mistakes so you can spend less time hunting for errors and more time fixing them.
All right, here we go. Pencils down in 3. Most of us have an answer. 2, 1. Rocks, paper, scissors, your answer on 2, 1, 2. Hold them up high. We have some different answers out here. I see 2s, 3s, and 4s. B, C, and D. First of all, let's go back to this original equation. 1/2 times the quantity x plus 2 equals 20. Based on the answer choices, are we going to distribute or are we going to divide by 1/2? I like these hands. Track Sherwin.
Divide by 1/2.
Who agrees with Sherwin? Yeah, we are going to divide by 1/2. I saw a lot of you do that. So if you divide by 1/2 on both sides, what happens to these halves over here? Roseby. They cancel each other out. I got to get a darker pen. Here we go. They cancel each other out. And we're left with what on this side of the equation? Naquan.
22.
We're left with 10. So you chose answer choice B?
Yeah.
Who else chose B? Okay, 20 divided by 1/2. Let's write that out on the side. 20 divided by 1/2. What's the answer? How many times does 1/2 go into 20? Naquan's smiling over there. Naquan, is it 10 times?
No.
Oh, it's not. Interesting. How many times does it go into 20? Flip that fraction. Do your multiplication. You know how to do that part. What do you say, Avisha? Who agrees with Avisha? Who changed their mind about their answer? Yeah, hold them up high. Be proud. You just figured it out. Yeah, what is the answer? Everyone on 2. B, C, or D. Just say the letter. Ready? 1, 2.
C.
That is correct.
Right, so in that clip, we saw a teacher that was um, not focused necessarily on making sure that students got the answer correct the first time, or even presenting the answer and then saying yes or no. What she was doing was creating and building a culture of error where it is kind of the norm. This is what is happening in the classroom. There are errors. We don't get it right every single time, but we're going to dive into that learning and into that thinking to see where we've gone wrong. So, the first thing that we need to do as educators when we are building a culture of error is to first expect error. And that kind of goes off of last week's where we were planning for error. We know that our lessons are not 100% perfect. Even if we've been teaching for a very long time, there's still going to be errors in student thinking and understanding, and we need to plan for that. And we need to expect errors, and we need to communicate that to our students. The message that we need to communicate is that mistakes are normal, they happen all the time, and we need to help them feel like there's not a judgment or value based on a right or wrong answer, that they are valuable in many ways and a source of insight. So we need to communicate to students that if you get it wrong, that's okay. That's just the first step in learning. Because if we got it right every single time, then we wouldn't need school, right? We wouldn't need teachers if students already knew how to do everything. But in getting it incorrect, we can look to see where our errors in thinking are happening and we can adjust to those. Unfortunately, a lot of times, the culture in the classroom is one that students try to conceal the fact that they have the wrong answer. So if and you see that and can recognize that that might be a culture happening in your own classroom if students are unwilling to answer. Right? So if hands aren't going up, or if in this digital world, if microphones aren't being unmuted, or if answers aren't in the chat box, if it's radio silence when you ask questions, there's a good chance that there is a culture where students are trying to hide their responses because they're worried about having an incorrect response. But we can't fix errors in thinking. We can't adjust and plan for and adapt to those errors if we don't see them. And so we need to help communicate that to students and assume that students are confused because the material is complex or because our explanations weren't somehow perfect after all. And so that ties into a lot of what we've been saying. We need to know exactly where the students are, right? That's why we ask them to show us. That's why we ask targeted questions. We reject self report because we need the accurate, real data about where students are. But they're not going to give that to us unless we create a culture where it's safe to do that. All right. The second thing that you need to do is withhold the answer. And this is so difficult for so many people, including myself. I am guilty of this. So when you withhold the answer, it's just what it says. You don't let students know if the answer that was provided is right or wrong at first. Of course, by the end, you will discuss which one is the correct answer or not correct answer. But when the teacher reveals the correct answers, students' engagement shifts. So if there is a question that is asked by the teacher, either multiple choice or open ended response, and it's time to answer, students will listen to other students' responses. But if this teacher says, yes, that's correct, or no, that's not correct, they're they shift from paying attention to what's happening in the classroom to what they did, and they start evaluating themselves and putting judgment on the answer. Did I get it right? Yes, I got it right. I don't need to listen anymore because my work here is done. I got the answer correct. I don't need to do any more. So we need to shift the focus from the answer to the thinking. And there's lots of ways to do that. But at the end of the presentation, there's some resources that can, with some phrases that you can use to prevent you from sharing the answer. But we really want to look at analyzing, right? So shift the focus from the answer to thinking and from evaluating to analyzing, right? The real power in learning is not that the students got it correct, but that their thinking was correct. Because we've all been in experiences where we've been taking a test, perhaps, and it was multiple choice, and we're just really good guessers, right? We had the luck of the draw, and we guessed correctly. That does not show that we're learning. But if we can analyze the responses, incorrect or correct, and really think about why one might be correct or why one might not be correct, we're really getting into powerful learning for students.
Let's hear people's answer for number 2. I suspect there's going to be some disagreement here, so I might hear a couple different people's answers. Okay, Jamila, go ahead.
247.
Or what?
Or 246.
Okay, sounds positive, the same one. Before we make a choice, because you circle one of them, right, Jamila? Before we pick one of them, I just want to see if people pick different numbers than those two. Let me pick anything other than those two. Cameron, what'd you pick? Okay, now, for the 4 answers we have here, A, B, C, and D, I don't want to start by asking which one you think is right, because I want to focus on the explanations that we have. So let me hear what people think of D. I don't care if you think it's right or wrong. I just want to hear what people think for answer D. So we got 62 divided by 5 equals 1 and 2400. Let's see what people said. Eddie, what did you say about it?
So there, we saw a pretty interesting clip, and this is really, again, really hard for me um, to be expressionless, right? He did not give them a single clue about what the right answer was. And he focused not on, hey, tell me what you got and why you got it, but I want to look at this answer. And my guess, I don't know, but my guess is that the response that he asked the entire class to look at was a common incorrect response. So it probably was a response for a problem in the mathematical operation that students have were frequently making, and so he wanted to really dive into that and get into their thinking and help them to see where their thinking went wrong, rather than just saying, "Okay, here's the correct answer and here's why." Because if somebody got the correct answer, they're tuned out. And if they got it wrong, they also could tune out because now they're feeling bad about themselves. Why am I so dumb? I'm never going to get it. I hate math. Instead, he is pulling them in and engaging them in the learning process and the thinking process and showing them that it's okay to struggle and grapple with really complex learning. But one thing he did really well was managing the tell. He had a really great poker face. He did not let the students know what was correct, what was incorrect, how he felt about the answers that they were giving. He was appreciative. He was engaged with them. Right. It wasn't like he didn't care. He obviously cared about what they were doing, but he did not show any reaction emotionally to their responses. Because when we do that, for me, I always say that I have to tell my face to use its inside voice because my face can sometimes give away what I'm thinking inside. And as a teacher, I did that a lot. When I got a really good answer, I would smile or my face would become bright. If I got one of those strange answers that you're thinking, what in the world is happening inside of your brain? Sometimes I would get this really confused look, um, or I would pause and kind of go, Yeah, to try to be nice, but it was very clear to everybody in my room whether or not I thought it was a good response. So it compromises our ability to withhold the answer. So if students are giving out answers and you have that poker face and then you get a good answer and you start smiling and laughing and being really excited, they're going to know that that's the correct answer and you're going to lose that engagement. It can communicate frustration with errors, um, which is something that if you are trying to build a culture of error in your classroom, you cannot hint in any way that students giving the wrong answer is frustrating or makes you not like them or that you don't like their response. Like there has to be no value, no emotional connection to errors. So we have to be intentional about what you communicate and when you communicate that. Right. So yes, in the end, we are going to say yes, that this is the correct answer. This is not the correct answer. Or here's where the thinking went wrong. And we definitely want to congratulate and celebrate those students who answered correctly. But we also want to celebrate the students who celebrate students who answered incorrectly. Right. Who helped us really dive into the thinking and really evaluate why this is the correct answer, and sometimes going through the incorrect path will help us understand and learn better. So we have to communicate that on purpose. So we need to replace our tells with a consistent and balanced expression of appreciation that's not quite approval. Right? So thank you for your response, thank you, okay, thank you, and then we can celebrate after we've got through the thinking. All right, and number 4, we need to praise risk taking. So we have to praise students for taking risks and facing down the challenge of a difficult subject or topic. We are pushing our students to learn things that are difficult, that require a lot of thinking. And if we are doing that, then we're going to have errors, right? If we're doing quality learning, there's going to be some mistakes along the way. And so we need to celebrate students who are willing to take a risk and share their thinking and be vulnerable in that way. And the more that you do that, you reinforce the behavior you want to see. So, what you celebrate, what you focus, what you put your attention to is what you're going to see in your classroom. So, if you are celebrating students who are taking risks and answering, even if and especially when it's an incorrect answer, you are letting your entire class know, I expect you to make mistakes, and I'm happy that you're making mistakes because now we can really learn. Now we can grow. Now we can get better because I'm aware of it. Encourage students to take risks when they're not sure. And I mean, we have a built in system in the district for incentivizing and reinforcing that risk taking, right? So um, you can um, give PBIS points at the high school for effort or integrity. Um, you can give CARES bucks at the elementary school. Sorry, I can't remember what your acronym stands for, but I am sure there's something in there about putting in effort and taking risks or something um, along that vein. But students should feel good about stepping out on a limb, whether they're right or they're wrong, right? So the value is they're engaged in class. Whether or not they're getting it, they're engaged. A wrong answer is still an answer. It still means that the student is with you, is working on the assignment, is trying to learn, right? And especially in this digital situation that we're in, that's a win. A win is that students are there and they are in class and they're trying. So let's praise that, let's reinforce that, and that will help build the culture even online, even when you can't see their faces, that you value them and what they bring to the table and that we're all in this together. All right, here are some resources. There's example phrases for building a culture of air, and it's broken down into to three sections. For expecting the air, so things you can say to show that you expect air, uh, ways that you can praise risk taking, and what's the other one? I can't remember. Anyway, there's some examples there. You can go into the Google Classroom, click on the link there for example phrases, and have that Word document. And there's a bank of common tells. So here are ways, it's broken into two sections. Tells for if the answer is incorrect, which is what we do most often. Most of the time, if the answer is incorrect, we have tells for that. But there's also some tells for if the students are getting the answer correct. So take a look at those. Maybe put one next to your computer screen or in your classroom and look at it and remind yourself every day that you are going to build a culture of air. Again, thank you for joining us. You can email me any questions, any concerns, anything that you would like some more help with, and I would be glad to help you. You can call me or send me a text message, and of course, you can always book an appointment.